Back in 2008, the Twilight cast looked untouchable, young, famous, and on top of the world. But after 17 years, the story is darker than you think. Careers crumbled, lives were lost, and only some of your favorites are still here today. Can you guess who made it through? Let's find out. Gregory Tyree Boyce as Tyler Crowley. In the dangerous world of Twilight, Tyler Crowley was the reckless classmate behind the wheel, the one who almost crushed Bella with his van before Edward appeared in a flash to save her life. It was quick, shocking, and unforgettable. And for Gregory Tyree Boyce, just 18 at the time, it seemed like a door opening into Hollywood's mysteries and action-filled promise. But once the lights dimmed, reality set in. Casting directors didn't call back. Opportunities slipped away, and he found himself stuck while his co-stars soared. Unlike Pattinson or Stewart, who jumped into projects like Remember Me or The Runaways, Gregory's acting career stalled. Each missed role deepened his frustration, and the promise of fame felt like a cruel trick. He tried to rebuild outside Hollywood, moving to Las Vegas and launching West Wings, a chicken wing venture. He worked hard to be a father to his daughter Alaya, but the weight of rejection and financial pressure was heavy. Parties and drugs became an escape. Friends said he carried guilt, feeling he wasn't present enough for his child, and the cycle of depression only grew darker. On May 13, 2020, at just 30 years old, he was found dead alongside his girlfriend, Natalie Adepoju, from a cocaine and fentanyl overdose. His net worth at the time was around $500,000, tied to his Las Vegas home, a Dodge Charger, and his small food business. Gil Birmingham as Billy Black. Billy Black didn't need sharp fangs or claws to be powerful. In Twilight, his calm warnings carried more weight than any fight, making him the steady anchor of the Quileute tribe. Gil Birmingham was 54 when he stepped into that role, giving it dignity and quiet authority. His journey to that moment wasn't easy. Hollywood had little space for Native American actors, and Gil was often typecast or ignored. Even after respected roles in Into the West and Comanche Moon, he still fought uphill. Twilight finally brought him into mainstream attention, but it also reminded him how few doors were truly open. Away from the cameras, Gil carried his own battles. Raised under a strict military father, he grew up feeling isolated from his roots. He never married, had no children, and later suffered a back injury that left him in chronic pain. Even as he won praise in films like Hell or High Water and shows like Yellowstone, the loneliness and depression were never far behind. Today, he lives quietly in Los Angeles, surrounded by native art and memories at the age of 72. His net worth is around $2.5 million, built from decades of steady supporting roles and a $1.5 million home that provides him with peace, even as he keeps his distance from the spotlight. Robert Pattinson as Edward Cullen. Edward Cullen was the immortal torn between love and bloodlust, the protector who carried both romance and danger in every stare. At just 21, Robert Pattinson embodied that mystery in Twilight, 2008, and the role launched him into a fame storm he could never fully escape. But stardom was cruel. Fresh off Harry Potter, he was suddenly mobbed by paparazzi and boxed into the image of the sparkling vampire. Films like Remember Me and Water for Elephants tried to prove his versatility, yet critics still tied him back to Edward. The pressure became suffocating, and he often admitted he questioned whether acting was worth the cost. His personal life cracked under that spotlight. His relationship with FKA Twigs was scarred by vicious racist attacks from the public, leaving him shaken. Then came tragedy in 2017, the suicide of a close friend, which sent him into depression. Even on set in Australia, he broke down, struggling with anxiety that he later described as one of the darkest chapters of his life. Avoiding Hollywood parties became less a choice than a survival tactic. Now, he is 39 years old and lives quietly with Suki Waterhouse, choosing creativity over fame. He owns a vintage townhouse in London, drives classic Jaguars and Aston Martins, and has a net worth of about $100 million, built from blockbuster salaries and critically acclaimed projects like The Lighthouse and The Batman. Billy Burke as Charlie Swan. Charlie Swan wasn't a man of many words, but his quiet devotion made him unforgettable. As Bella's protective father in Twilight, 2008, Billy Burke played the small-town sheriff with rugged warmth and understated humor. At 41, he delivered the perfect mix of awkward dad energy and steady loyalty, grounding a story filled with supernatural chaos. Behind the screen, Burke's career was steady but unspectacular for years. Music had been his first love, yet acting slowly became his paycheck. Twilight finally gave him mainstream recognition, though the fame arrived late and came with its own frustrations. His attempts to build on that momentum through projects like Drive, Angry, and Revolution faltered, never bringing the lasting breakthrough he longed for. Off-camera, life turned heavier. His marriage to actress Pollyanna Rose crumbled quietly after years of strain from work schedules, leaving him estranged from his daughter Bluesy Lily, a regret he admitted in rare interviews. A car accident in 2015 worsened chronic back problems, while alcohol became his escape during darker seasons of depression. Financial struggles also hit hard when a failed music investment nearly bankrupted him in the early 2000s. Now he is 58 years old and lives quietly in Los Angeles, focusing on songwriting and therapy to heal old wounds. He owns a $3 million modern home, drives a sleek black Maserati, and holds a net worth of about $5 million. Kristen Stewart as Bella Swan. Bella Swan was fragile, clumsy, and human, yet her quiet courage pulled her into a supernatural world she couldn't control. At 17, Kristen Stewart brought Bella to life with understated realism in Twilight, 2008, instantly making her the face of a cultural obsession. That obsession came with a price. Twilight typecast her, trapping her in Bella's shadow even as she took on daring roles in The Runaways and Adventureland. The 2012 scandal with director Rupert Sanders shattered her relationship with Robert Pattinson and nearly destroyed her career. For years, she endured sleepless nights, panic attacks, and public judgment that never seemed to end. Her inner battles grew darker. In 2018, the overdose death of a close friend broke her down further, pushing her into therapy and writing as coping mechanisms. She embraced her queer identity, finding love with Dylan Meyer, but openly admitted she feared motherhood, haunted by memories of emotional distance in her childhood. Smoking and self-isolation once defined her stress, but meditation and artistic risks slowly gave her strength back. Today, at 35, she splits her time between indie films and major projects, living in a modern Los Angeles home. She drives a Porsche Taycan and holds a net worth of about $70 million, built from global franchises and acclaimed performances like Spencer. Peter Facinelli as Carlisle Cullen. As Carlisle Cullen, the compassionate vampire doctor, Peter Facinelli was the calm leader of the Cullen clan. In Twilight, 2008, at just 34, he captured Carlisle's grace, intellect, and moral strength. A father figure not just to Edward, but to the entire vampire family. It was the role that pushed his career onto a global stage. Yet his personal story was more turbulent. Before Twilight, Facinelli had built his name in TV dramas and films like Fastlane and Can't Hardly Wait. But it was Carlisle that gave him true stardom. Success, however, didn't shield him from pain. His marriage to Jenny Garth collapsed in 2013 after more than a decade, strained by emotional distance and clashing careers. The blows kept coming. In 2016, the death of his mother devastated him, pulling him away from work to care for family. Just as he sought stability, a scandal in 2019, when private text messages leaked, damaged his reputation and pushed him into a period of self-doubt. Burnout followed years of overwork, forcing him to rediscover balance through meditation and creative writing. In 2025, at 51, he has shifted toward writing and directing, living more deliberately. He owns a $4 million Hollywood Hills mansion, drives an Audi R8, among other luxury cars, and maintains a net worth of around $10 million. Elizabeth Reaser as Esme Cullen. Esme Cullen was the softest heart in a cold vampire world. Gentle, maternal, and endlessly forgiving, she was the emotional glue of the Cullen family. At just 32 during Twilight, 2008, Elizabeth Reaser gave Esme warmth that balanced out all the dangers swirling around Forks. But behind the comforting smile was an actress carrying private storms. Elizabeth had built respect in TV and stage work, but Twilight boxed her into the kind mother role. After the saga, breaking away from that image proved exhausting, even when she appeared in projects like The Haunting of Hill House and The Handmaid's Tale. Hollywood didn't always know what to do with an actress who could be both fragile and fierce. Her personal life weighed heavier. A long relationship with a writer collapsed in 2012 after betrayal, shattering her trust in love. She admitted openly that she never felt safe enough to start a family, something she quietly mourned. At the same time, caring for her father after his stroke in 2010 forced her to juggle hospital visits and filming schedules until panic attacks pushed her to the brink of burnout. Today, she is 50 years old and divides her time between acting, therapy, and mentoring women-led indie films. She owns a well-equipped Los Angeles home, drives a luxury sedan, and has a net worth of about $6 million, built from acting paychecks and artistic investments. Jose Zuniga as Mr. Molina. Mr. Molina wasn't a central figure in Twilight, but fans remember him as the cheerful science teacher who brought Forks High to life. Jose Zuniga, 45 at the time, gave the role charm and realism, just as he'd been doing for decades in film and TV. By then, Jose had already racked up a long resume, appearing in films like Mission Impossible 3 and Con Air, but his career was often stuck in supporting roles. The struggle was always the same, steady work, but never the big breakthrough. That tension followed him into later years, even as he appeared in Grey's Anatomy, NCIS, and other staples of American TV. His private life carried deeper scars. A bitter divorce in the late 1990s left him distanced from his daughter, something he admitted he never forgave himself for. Then came the worst blow, the sudden death of his younger brother in a 2015 car accident. The grief drove him into depression and guilt for not being there when it mattered most. Cigarettes and overwork pushed him toward heart problems, forcing him to change his habits. In 2025, he lives modestly in Los Angeles, mentoring young actors and teaching workshops at the age of 63. He owns a humble home, drives a hybrid SUV, and holds a net worth of about $2 million, built from decades of character acting and teaching. Taylor Lautner as Jacob Black. Jacob Black wasn't just Bella's childhood friend. He became the wolf who would fight for her life and her love. At only 16 in Twilight, 2008, Taylor Lautner started as a lanky kid. But by New Moon, he returned transformed, his muscular body making him a teen idol almost overnight. That transformation was both a blessing and a curse. The bulked-up physique won him global attention, but also typecast him as nothing more than the shirtless werewolf. While his co-stars moved into serious films, Lautner struggled. Abduction flopped. His comedy stints in Grown Ups 2 drew mockery, and critics doubted if he could ever escape Jacob's shadow. The online ridicule hit him harder than fans realized. The fame also carried betrayal. Friends from his inner circle sold stories to tabloids, and the constant body pressure left him anxious and exhausted. Gym sessions turned obsessive, and social media taunts about his looks deepened his insecurity. Eventually, Lautner stepped away, retreating from Hollywood and putting his career on pause to protect his mental health. In 2025, he is 33 years old and lives quietly with his wife, nurse Taylor Dome, in a $10 million Los Angeles mansion. The couple has chosen not to have children, focusing instead on health and peace. He practices yoga instead of punishing gym routines, drives luxury cars, and has a net worth of around $40 million. Ashley Greene as Alice Cullen. Alice Cullen was the light in the Cullen clan, cheerful, prophetic, and always ready to shield Bella with her visions of the future. At 20 years old when she filmed Twilight, 2008, Ashley Greene's pixie-like charm made Alice an instant fan favorite, and suddenly the model-turned-actress found herself on magazine covers around the world. But fame did not erase the battles at home. Greene's childhood was shadowed by a father addicted to drugs and a turbulent parental marriage that left her emotionally guarded. Even at the height of Twilight, she confessed to panic attacks and hiding from social gatherings. Hollywood roles came, from LOL to The Apparition, but few matched her breakout success, and rejection became a painful constant. Her personal life carried heartbreak as well. After marrying Paul Curry, she endured multiple miscarriages that devastated their bond. By 2023, the marriage quietly ended in divorce. Though the couple later welcomed daughter Ello via surrogacy, the wounds of those years still linger. Therapy became her lifeline, helping her regain balance when grief threatened to overwhelm her. In 2025, at 38, she lives in a minimalist Los Angeles home, drives a white Lexus, and focuses on health, advocacy, and raising her daughter. Her net worth stands near $8 million, earned from acting and endorsements, but her true strength now lies in living far from the frenzy of her Twilight past. Jackson Rathbone as Jasper Hale. Jasper Hale was the soldier in the Cullen family, stoic, haunted, and always fighting to control his thirst. At 23 in Twilight, 2008, Jackson Rathbone captured that tension perfectly, his eyes carrying both pain and danger. Fans loved him, but for Jackson the fame didn't match the creative freedom he craved. Beyond Forks, he poured himself into music with his band 100 Monkeys, touring relentlessly. Yet the grind of life on the road became brutal. A terrifying emergency landing in 2014 left him with lingering PTSD, and the loss of a close friend during a tour deepened his scars. Though he starred in films like The Last Airbender and The Condemned, critical backlash and box office failures crushed his confidence. At home, marriage to Sheila Hafsadi in 2013 brought stability and 3 children, but constant travel created strain. Jackson often isolated himself, avoiding public appearances when memories of the plane incident resurfaced. Therapy slowly helped him push back against those shadows, teaching him to channel the pain into smaller, more intimate performances. Today, at 40 years old, he lives in Los Angeles with his family, balancing fatherhood with music. He owns a stylish home, a personal studio, collects vintage Porsche cars, and has a net worth of about $7 million. His focus today is not on global stardom, but on family and art that heals. Nikki Reed as Rosalie Hale. Rosalie Hale was beautiful, bitter, and unforgettable, the vampire who carried rage as fiercely as her beauty. At only 19 in Twilight, 2008, Nikki Reed brought Rosalie's icy exterior and tragic backstory to life, instantly connecting with fans who saw the pain behind her perfection. But Nikki's own life was no fairy tale. She had broken into Hollywood early with 13, a raw portrayal of teenage rebellion that mirrored parts of her chaotic youth. The success was double-edged. It gave her a career but also branded her with an image that was hard to escape. Twilight gave her a new spotlight, yet it typecast her into roles focused on looks rather than depth. Her personal struggles ran deep. Growing up amid her parents' divorce and her own stint in rehab as a teenager left lasting wounds. Even marriage to Ian Somerhalder carried turbulence, as distance and clashing priorities pulled them apart. Though they share a daughter, Bodhi, Nikki admitted the relationship was marked by emotional distance, forcing her to find healing elsewhere. Now, she has shifted focus toward sustainability, art, and advocacy at the age of 37. She lives in an eco-friendly Los Angeles home, drives a hybrid SUV, and has a net worth of about $12 million, built from acting, entrepreneurship, and environmental projects. Through her activism, she has turned pain into purpose. Kellan Lutz as Emmett Cullen. You remember Emmett, right? The big brother of the Cullen clan who could crush a bear with his bare hands and still crack a joke right after. In Twilight, 2008, Kellan Lutz made Emmett the comic relief and the muscle, the vampire you'd actually want as your bodyguard. At just 22, he was already stealing scenes with nothing more than a grin and a flex, but Hollywood can be cruel to actors built on looks and strength. After Twilight, Kellan landed flashy roles in Immortals and The Legend of Hercules, but both bombed critically. Instead of cementing his place as an action star, the failures branded him as a model-turned-actor who couldn't carry a hit. The rejection left him restless, working harder than ever, yet always feeling one step behind. Then, tragedy struck. In 2020, Kellan and his wife, Brittany Gonzalez, lost their baby in a late-term stillbirth, a heartbreak that nearly tore their marriage apart. Though they later welcomed a daughter, the grief carved scars that will never fully heal. Raised in a deeply religious home, Kellan once considered becoming a pastor, but family clashes over faith created distance. Overworking himself into exhaustion had been his old pattern. Today, meditation and therapy are his shield. In 2025, at 40, he lives quietly in suburban Los Angeles with his wife and daughter. He owns a peaceful home, drives a rugged Jeep, and focuses on faith-based media and motivational speaking. His net worth is around $5 million, built from acting paychecks, modeling work, and his newer projects outside Hollywood. Anna Kendrick as Jessica Stanley. Jessica wasn't a vampire or a wolf, but she had something else. The snarky commentary that made Forks High feel real. Anna Kendrick, only 22 when she played Bella's chatty classmate, nailed that mix of gossip, jealousy, and humor. Even with limited screen time, she turned Jessica into the kind of friend you recognize instantly. Funny, a little insecure, and always watching from the sidelines. Unlike many of her co-stars, Anna's career skyrocketed after Twilight. She earned an Oscar nomination for Up in the Air and became a global star with Pitch Perfect. But the constant press tours, the pressure to stay relatable, and the grind of Hollywood comedies pushed her to the edge of burnout. Behind the big smiles, she often struggled with panic attacks and overwhelming anxiety. Her personal life carried just as much pain. A long-term relationship turned emotionally abusive, leaving deep wounds in her self-esteem. Later, an engagement to a cinematographer ended quietly, another heartbreak she carried without fanfare. Estranged from her father, who never approved of her career, Anna often admitted she felt unmoored, even at her most successful. Therapy became her lifeline, giving her tools to turn suffering into creativity. In 2025, he is 40 and lives in Los Angeles, choosing roles carefully while focusing on writing. She owns a sleek modern home, drives a Porsche Taycan, and has a net worth of about $20 million, built from blockbuster franchises, book royalties, and selective acting projects. Today, she turns past pain into art while keeping a low profile. Kristen Serratos as Angela Weber. Angela Weber wasn't the loudest in Bella's circle, but she was the steady friend who balanced out all the high school drama. At only 17, Kristen Serratos brought Angela's warmth and shyness to Twilight, 2008, making her the kind of friend Bella could trust when everyone else was caught up in love triangles and danger. For Kristen, the role was a launchpad. She went from the sidelines of Forks High to the bloody chaos of The Walking Dead, where she played Rosita and earned a devoted fan base. But the price of fame was heavy. The constant grind of shooting long seasons and facing criticism online left her drained, and she admitted that even success sometimes felt hollow. Her biggest battle came off-screen, After giving birth to her daughter Wolfgang, Kristen suffered severe postpartum depression. It strained her long-term relationship with musician David Boyd, and though they never married, the breakup left her raising her child as a single mother. On top of that, tension with her own mother over control and independence only deepened the emotional toll. In 2025, at 35, she lives in a cozy Los Angeles home, drives a Toyota SUV, and focuses on balancing acting with motherhood. With a net worth of about $3 million, built from The Walking Dead and selective projects, she now puts her daughter and her health above chasing constant fame. Michael Welch as Mike Newton. Mike Newton was the goofy, persistent classmate who couldn't hide his crush on Bella. At 20, Michael Welch brought an easy charm to Twilight, 2008, turning Mike into the comic relief of Forks High, the human reminder in a story filled with supernatural tension. But Michael's path after the saga didn't shine as bright. Despite early promise on TV shows like Joan of Arcadia, his post-Twilight career faded quickly. The roles that came his way were smaller, often forgettable, and the dream of breaking into leading man territory slipped further out of reach. The disappointment pushed him toward habits that hurt more than they helped. Behind the curtain, his personal struggles grew darker. His marriage to Samantha Maggio collapsed under the weight of distance and his increasing dependence on alcohol. Losing his father hit him hard, and 2 separate stints in rehab left scars that went deeper than the public ever saw. Though he has a daughter, June, the relationship has been strained, something he admits is one of his biggest regrets. In 2025, at 38, he teaches acting, performs in small roles, and lives quietly in Los Angeles. He owns a modest $700,000 home, still drives an older car from his Twilight years, and holds a net worth of about $1 million. Today, he finds meaning not in fame, but in helping others learn the craft that once defined his own dreams. 17 years later, the Twilight cast has lived through fame, heartbreak, and even tragedy. But which story shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more untold Hollywood journeys.